What's up, my friends? I'm Stat. Welcome to the stream. Today we are doing the streaming roundtable episode 4, and we're gonna be talking about personality and vibe and how important that is to the live streaming aspect of live streaming, and how much does it pay? Like how important is it? Is it the most important thing? Is it somewhat important? Like, and also, how do you know that like your personality and vibe fits with you know, the game that you're playing or the channel that you're creating? And it's a very difficult conversation, I think it is, to have, because you end up talking about someone, or if they say, hey, how can I make my stream better? And you're like, well, how do you say to them your personality needs to change? How do you say you need to modify something about your personality? It's very difficult, I think, to talk about. And so we're gonna try and talk about it today, and see how it goes, because I honestly not sure how to tackle this conversation, only because it's such a touchy subject that it's tough to communicate it. So for instance, some people are over the top and exciting and super loud, and that type of personality fits certain types of games. And then other people are more methodical and like have lots of knowledge and are able to like keep information in their mind and like regurgitate it. And those kind of people are maybe better for, you know, strategy games, survival games, things like that. Something more methodical about it, you know? And then the thing is, like, I just don't know if like there is one type of personality that is successful. I think it depends on what you're trying to do. And like, as long as that personality that you have fits the game you're playing, I think that, you know, that person can be successful regardless of if they're the loudest or not the loudest and things like that. Roundtable, how's it going, Barbara? Well, we actually open up our sponsor chat near the end of the stream to get people who are basically sponsors to communicate about, you know, personality and vibe. That's the topic today. And so yeah, I'm gonna say hi to everyone. How's it going, Rosie, Josh Action, Derek, Goomba Girl, Brian Hackett, Chris's Face, Rebel Scum, Caleb, Madamus Prime, John Larson, Barbara, Danny Boy, Angel Reyes. Welcome. Thank you guys for hanging out. This is the 4th episode of the streamer roundtable. And so yeah, like I said, today we're talking about personality. Super difficult thing to talk about because I don't think anyone really knows what clicks. And the way I went into streaming is that I wanted to be kind of myself, a little bit of an exaggerated version of myself. Now, this version of myself does come out when I'm playing video games on my own, but when I stream, it comes out way more often because, you know, I'm playing video games and there's people watching, and I'm more excited about the game because I'm more focused in on the game when I'm playing and I'm live. But the thing is, I like, for instance, like, how do you decide if your personality fits streaming? When you start streaming, how do you know? How do you know if like it would work out? You know, like, oh, you want to do this type of game. How do you know? So yeah, if you guys have any questions in the chat about personality, about vibe, about how it affects live streaming, definitely ask those questions in the chat. And we'll try and get to your questions and answer them the best that I can. And then a bit later, we'll get some of the sponsors who want to have a conversation about this. They can talk in the Discord. So if you have Discord, make sure to open up and go to the sponsor chat, and we'll be joining in that. And make sure you guys have your mute button on so that we don't hear the echoes and anything like that. You love these, except when you hear roundtable, you think pizza. How's it going, Derek? Welcome, Kathy. Rage quick personality isn't much fun to watch. I know that. Well, the thing is, like, it depends. I mean, once in a while, having that type of personality where it's like you get really excited and angry. Some people like that. I've seen some channels that have very aggressive, over the top reactions to certain things, and it goes well with their audience, you know? That's kind of what they've created. I think you just follow a gut feeling. How do you know your personality fits live streaming? Honestly, yeah, you gotta just try it. But the thing is, it's not necessarily if your personality fits live streaming, it's if your personality fits the game you're live streaming to. Like, I mean, maybe you just have a really interesting life and you're doing IRL streams and you're comfortable walking around outside and or talking around to people. That's one thing. You know, and there's other people who want to stay inside and just play video games. But, you know, personality and vibe isn't the only thing that you need, because you also need to sort of be good at video games, or you got to be good at being bad at video games. There's like this weird ratio that you got to have, and I don't think, I don't know what the exact ratio is. I think it's different for everyone. L says, must have a really cool beard and look like Spartan to be successful and make the monies. Definitely. Dr. Disrespect, yes, One Shot Girl. That is a great example. Dr. Disrespect is very personality driven channel, and you know, his whole gig is that personality. And if you compare him to like Ninja, who's, you know, really good at a game and also has like, you know, it's not like the gig that Dr. Disrespect has, but they're super different in that way. So it's a great comparison because he's amazing at the game, Ninja, and then Dr. Respect also good at the game, but not nearly as good as Ninja, but has this crazy over the top personality, and they both do very well. So I like real personalities. I don't like over the top personas. They really make me feel weird. Well, that's good. I also think that we have to take in consideration the age demographic of people who are watching. So like if you're a COD streamer, or if you're a, you know, Fortnite streamer or whatever, maybe having the over the top rage inducing stuff is what they want, because younger audience. Well, I meant more of a serious tone of yelling at teammates and just quitting out of every game. Oh, okay, Caleb. So you mean like someone who's like over the top, too serious, and doesn't have fun even like when you lose. I understand. You gotta have fun. You previously described how organic you find your fellows to play games with. How do you handle, aside from not inviting them, personality conflicts? I don't know. I mean, like, either you click or you don't, and like, if I don't invite someone back, it's not necessarily because their personality doesn't click, it's just that there's maybe no space or something like that. But if personality conflicts, then I definitely, you know, I'll play less with them. It's just not something that I'll, you know, not interested in playing with someone that obviously we don't connect and don't have good vibes on stream. You don't have to be good at video games, you have to be engaging. Engaging is true, being engaging is very good. Talking to your chat a lot is important. I don't know if that's enough. You definitely need to have something else, you know, because there's like I said, there's this vibe in chat where people want to come hang out in your stream while they're doing something else or while they're watching you 100%. But a lot of people do multiple things at a time while watching a stream. So if they're watching a stream and they are working and they have you on the background, there's got to be like a good vibe for them to listen and work and lurk. And there's something about like the sound of the voice and the reaction time and the words that you say. And I also feel like there's a lot to do with repetition as well. So like when you have like a gig, you know, where every day you do something similar that is repetitive, and it kind of just makes it feel like comforting. I think there's something comforting about like that repetition in the day-to-day thing. I don't think you have success by faking or even tweaking your personality. Genuineness is very important in a streamer. You can say that Dr. Disrespect is an example of successful faux personality, but I would say that he doesn't have to try hard at that personality. Maybe it's his true nature. I have no idea, Brian. It is possible that he does. He does have a personality that is close to his Dr. Disrespect. I don't know. It's very possible. But the thing is, he does what he does well, and he chose that personality that fits with what he does. So, you know, it's good for him and all that. So I'm what's it called? Yeah. I'm lurking and working as long as there's no random screens or just making noise for no reason. Yeah, the thing is that's the thing is like, yes, once in a while there's screaming, but working and lurking, you gotta have like this. It's almost like a radio show in the background, and it's just like comforting to hear someone's voice. My biggest hang up from making my own videos or streaming is that I'm a pretty quiet person. How do you amp up your personality without feeling fake? I'm not saying that you should amp up your personality. I think you should find like, you know, the level that you can go to. and then try and mix that with the type of stream you're trying to create, you know? Like the games that you play a game that doesn't require high intensity reactions, you know? Play a game that's more about methodical decisions and explanations. So, you know, like strategy, survival games, things like that, you know, real-time strategy, anything like that can be really fun to watch if the person is knowledgeable and soothing. What do you think about streamers who do not use a face cam? Do I think a face cam is necessary? I think that a face cam is important. It can add... It can add like a connection between you and the audience. I use a face cam because I felt like I can use, you know, my face and my reactions and my facial expressions to my advantage because, you know, I'm streaming and you can see my reaction as opposed to just hearing my voice. At least when I'm not talking, when I'm streaming, you can still see my face and I still make reactions even though I'm not necessarily talking. And so, for instance, when I die in a game, you'll see my reaction. Sometimes I won't say anything. You'll just see my face. And if I'm not using a camera, that forces me to say something when I wouldn't normally say something in that situation. And I don't want to have to talk when I can make a facial expression instead. And so that's part of the reason I use the face cam. You're the best person to watch and listen to streaming. Love the PUBG streams. Keep up the great stream. Thank you so much, Shane Kennedy. What's up, Cherry Blossom? How's it going, Jose? Welcome. D-Train, how's it going? We all get the submersion of the salt pouring from Stat with his webcam. Oh my god. Does his personality help you play strategy games? No, I don't think so. I think that, like, for me, if you actually watch me, if I were to play a survival RTS, like, you know, when I was playing Billions, We Are Billions, or if I play other games like, I don't know, there's a bunch of other games that I'm really bad at RTS. I'm really bad at survival, like, you know, strategy games like that. But they're fun for me, but I'm not super knowledgeable. I don't remember which base I need to build this character. My memory isn't like, I'm not that type of gamer where I just remember everything and I'm able to do it. Like I play as I go, and that's always been how I am. And so playing as I go is just why I play a lot of Battle Royale and multiplayer games, because the reaction and the conversation is about the moment there and not planning ahead in the future for when I'm at level 3, you know, barracks, and I can build a better character. Being so comfortable in front of the mic and engaging in conversation, would you consider being on the radio? I mean, yeah, Brad. I feel like I could definitely talk for a long time. I talk every day for a long time, and being on the radio is definitely something I could do. I almost feel like I'd rather do a podcast or something like that. I mean, this is technically a podcast. If I had one person on, I feel like an interview would be something I could do, and I like it. I like talking about different things, and it could be a lot of fun. So it's definitely possible. How have you not fallen to the Fortnite bug? Well, the thing is, Fortnite doesn't really click with my channel. I do like the game, but it doesn't. It's not like my favorite battle royale game, and so I just, you know, I don't necessarily play it that often. And there's plenty of other people playing it for other people to watch, so they're not missing out. You always seem genuine. That is what really drew me to continually watch your streams. Thank you, Jinx. I appreciate that. I try and be as genuine as possible. I feel like being myself and talking honestly is important. One of the things I've always figured out is that like there's no point in lying, because it just takes up a lot of energy, and I don't like expelling energy like that. The way I see it is, if you're honest, you don't have to remember anything. And that is how I've always tried to live, is like, just be honest and forthcoming, and you don't have to remember, you know, you could just keep going forward. And if anyone asks you questions, you don't have to think back like, oh, what did I say to them? You just tell them the truth about what the situation was. And that's the same when it comes to streaming. I try my best to just be open and honest about, you know, the things that I do talk about. Obviously there's things I don't talk about, but the things I do talk about, I'm open and honest about them. The variety of games that you play is what keeps me coming back and ultimately getting a chat beard. Jake Holt, thank you so much for that. Appreciate you for sponsoring the beard. Yeah, if you guys haven't sponsoring the beard is a cool thing to do. Do you think you'll ever stop playing PUBG? It depends. It depends on what PUBG does. I mean, PUBG is pretty rough a lot of the time, and it's frustrating. I really do hope that they fix the game a bit more. I'm hoping that they the 4x4 map does well. But the thing is, so Jake is talking about variety, and so I personally I feel like my personality goes well with multiplayer games, but also with playing new random games because I'm experiencing the moment and I feel like I enjoy that and my reaction is genuine to the situation I'm in when I'm playing a new game. And sometimes my frustrations is also funny to watch because I somehow get into the weirdest situations in video games and things break all the time around me. And I like doing that, but the problem is that YouTube doesn't necessarily reward that. They do not necessarily reward a person who plays a lot of different games. You need to play the same game to get in the algorithm, and then you got to hope that that game doesn't die because else you're in a lot of trouble. What's the first game you streamed? It was Binding of Isaac. I love the variety of the games you play. I really don't like one streamer only plays one game. The thing is, Yok, a lot of people play one game and it does really well for them. Right now, a lot of people are just playing Fortnite and it does really well. And I'm happy for them, you know, but what sucks is that, you know, the growth on YouTube aside from Fortnite is pretty small. At least the way I see it. I mean, people will argue opposite of that, but I really feel like it's pretty weak in terms of like smaller streamers growing that aren't playing Fortnite. You love your streams. I love it. You stand by. Thank you so much, Asparagus. Do you ever feel exhausted of streaming? Yeah, streaming is very exhausting. One thing that can be frustrating is like, you know, when you get stuck playing one game and then one day you don't feel like playing that game, and you know, if you don't play the game, you can, you know, your channel can suffer, things can go bad, and so sometimes you're forced to play the same game, and that feeling of being forced to play the same game is something that I do not like, and I do not want other people to feel. But it's part of the thing about streaming is like sometimes you got to play this game, and that's one of the dangers of only playing one game, because you end up getting caught in this cycle of just playing one game. And that's why we're talking about personality and vibe, where, you know, you got to hope that you got to be yourself, but you also got to be able to evolve yourself. Like when you start streaming isn't necessarily how you're going to be in 2 years. So my initial personality on stream was very shy, and as I got, you know, more into streaming, I spoke, you know, louder or more, you know, with more enthusiasm or something like that, you know, and that's part of evolving in the genre. And I think that people say, oh, maybe I don't have the personality to stream. I still think you should start streaming and get into your comfort zone, and then maybe from there you'll be able to find like a different, more you know, not necessarily a better personality, but evolve your personality. So yeah, that's one of the things. Do you think streamers will ever join together as a network? What do you mean by that? One second. So yeah, what do I recommend on what game to play? It really depends. If you want to grow your channel, I would say definitely play popular games. But if that popular game is not a game you enjoy, then I wouldn't say play it. It really depends on, you know, it really depends. It really depends. It really depends on the game, because you can go and play Fortnite, but if you don't want to have a ton of children in your audience and as your what's it called, as your audience, then you don't necessarily want to play Fortnite. If you want to have a more mature audience, you play something like PUBG, Battlefield, games that have a more mature audience. Was there ever an awkward conversation with your parents when you told them that you're going to do a full-time live streamer? Brad, honestly, like, my parents are pretty supportive. They trust my decisions, and so I'm lucky to have parents like that, and they do support me, and they trusted me to make the choices I did. So no, it's the conversation is more with like other people that are who don't know what streaming is or don't know what you're doing. That conversation can be awkward. You're trying to tell them what you're doing, but they don't really understand, and it still happens to this day. Yeah, you do get Google Analytics on your demographics for sure. How cool would it be to see 24/7 channel with different streamers in different time slots on different games? I don't know how that would work on YouTube though, because YouTube kind of doesn't necessarily work that way. You know what I mean? It's more focused on that one type of game. It's hard to get people to come back when, you know, the algorithm doesn't necessarily favor or doesn't understand what you're doing when you're always live. The vibe in your streams is what brought me here. I'm sure everyone else. If the boxed in feeling continues with YouTube gaming, would you switch over to Twitch? I would definitely follow. Evercrush, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because the positive things about YouTube can also be a negative thing about YouTube. And currently, like, it's in a kind of like a funk. It feels like, because Fortnite does so well, and Fortnite doesn't really click with what I do on my channel. And so it's this weird like situation where Fortnite's one of the biggest games in a long time, and I'm not capitalizing on it because it just doesn't click. And so it's like, when is there going to be another game that clicks that allows, you know, channels other than Fortnite channels to grow? So it's kind of a weird situation. You want to start streaming? Do you have any tips? I would say just go for it, man. Play games you like and have fun, and try and evolve what you're doing every time you go live. There's a German group of gamers who have 24/7 gaming channel on YouTube called Rocket Beans. They are making it work. That's cool, Phoebe. I didn't know that. I have a Twitch if you want to follow it, ! Twitch, and go follow me there. Where do you live? Like, which country? I live in LA right now, in the United States. In California. How old is Lynx? He's 6. So now, let's say you wanted to help someone, and someone's like, hey, I need help with my stream. And part of the problem is that you think that there's something up with their personality. How do you broach that subject? How do you talk to them and say, hey, listen, you know, there's something about your vibe and how it doesn't click with the game you're playing. Or there's something about this that doesn't click. Like, how do you even broach that conversation? And I think that's difficult. Because it's like saying that you don't like what they're wearing. It's like, you're like saying you don't like their haircut. You know, even though they can change what they're wearing in their haircut, people get super offended. I need help with my stream. Hey, Julie. Oh my God. Yeah, so that, I think it's one of the most awkward things, because a lot of times I'll have a conversation with people who want to start streaming, or they're streaming already and they're like, how do I do better? And I don't know how to say it. Like, there's a way that people talk. There's a way that words come out of people's mouths, and if it flows naturally, then I think that it can be something that people are attracted to. But if there is like awkward pauses that are not like that, you don't accept as like, oh, this is just who I am, I'm just awkward like that, then I think it can cause problems, because you gotta be comfortable. And if you're comfortable in your awkwardness, that's awesome. But if you're like not comfortable, people feed on that, and they see that, and it's a negative thing. I'm honestly just saying, what I'm trying to get at here is that it's so difficult to go up to a streamer and be like, listen, your personality sucks. How do you say that to someone? Obviously, you would never say it like that. But how do you go up to them and gently tell them that, like, this is the direction maybe I think you should go? But then they look at you and they're like, well, who are you to tell me what to do? You know, or like, who are you to tell me what I should, how I should be different? And like, here I am trying to try and help them. But how do you help them if you can't be straight up about something that is so personal to their personality? Lynx, wow. Lynx is like Thinks he's drunk. I think he's drunk. Mm-hmm. Nikki. Speaking from experience, yeah, but the thing is, like, there's one thing about experiences, like, I don't know, having long time streaming, but there's another thing by saying, hey, you're, you know, there's something wrong with the way you talk, or there's something wrong with the way that you express yourself on stream. That, I don't know, man. It's a difficult thing. It's so hard because streaming is so personal, but at the end of the day, it's a business. Yeah, but that's the thing. Is constructive criticism can be helpful, but how do you know who you can give that information to? And you got to realize that if you talk like this to someone, you can ruin a friendship, or you can ruin a relationship because they get super offended. They're not ready for that, you know? Because I also believe that as real as people are on stream, people definitely get, there is definitely something about, you know, being, I guess you could say, in entertainment business and having to perform, because regardless of what you want to say, this still performing on stream, and you're in the entertainment business. And if you look at like actors or whatever, I feel like directors need to tiptoe around them to make them still feel good, but get them to do what they want to do. And I think the same goes for streamers. Like, once a streamer has had success or something, but wants more success, how do you tell them, hey, you got to do something a little differently? It's tough. You wouldn't give them your opinion unless they asked? Lynx is cute. Yeah, he is. I think if someone genuinely wanted to know, then they should ultimately, you're approaching the situation differently because they asked. The problem tends to be no one wants to answer it. Well, that's the thing, but no one also wants to know the answer. Chris's Face did a great job breaking into streaming. I met Chris's Face watching him medic for stat in Battlefield. Then I followed him and now enjoy his YouTube channel very much also. Jason Light, yeah. And, you know, when Chris's Face did that, he was just playing. And he didn't have anything in mind. It just happened, you know? And I think that's part of what organic growth and organic just following what you want to do. I think it's important because you can literally, there's so many ways to get into streaming, but if you just do like whatever you're doing, something just all falls into place instead of trying to plan it out, like, you know, every step of the way. No one wants to hear the truth when it's not what they think. That's true. It's hard to. I dealt with it at work. You have to know the person well enough to give them the advice. If you don't know them, it's hard to help. Just say you want to have an hour of personal or professional development and make it an exercise. That's not a bad idea, John Jerry. An exercise where they can give feedback to you and you can give feedback to them or something like that. Does being a cat person help you in the kind of games you choose? No. I play all sorts of games. If they ask you for constructive criticism, then give it. If they don't like it, they probably aren't interested in take the next step. You have to be thick-skinned in entertainment. It's true, but most people are not. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, so it's that's why this conversation, I was kind of worried about talking about this because it's so complicated and it's not just about streaming setup, like, oh, how do you use your alerts? How do you put things on screen? Or like, why do you play these games or whatever? This is like personalities, like core aspect of your life and who you are, and you have to give feedback on that to a person. That is very difficult to do. And so having this conversation was kind of scary for me because I was nervous that I would, you know, not know how to broach the subject and tell people certain things about this, especially. I personally would rather have someone tell me and not have to go around begging for people's thoughts. The faster you can fix things, the further you grow. But not everyone's like that, Chris. That's the problem. I don't know. For me, to ask someone for help, it takes a lot of trust in the other person. So if I'm asking someone for help, I want the full and honest truth. That's good. That's good, Clay. Have you ever felt a good vibe during the stream override your schedule, stopping time, or what game you're playing? Like, how flexible do you keep yourself in that regard? So it really depends, Josh. Like some days Some days, like, if I'm playing a game and sometimes I get into the zone and I just totally forget about time. It happens. But I try and stay on a schedule to keep things organized and the same feeling every day. Julie, I don't know if I said that I was talking about an individual person, because I wasn't. I was talking in general. I haven't spoke to a person and directly gave them feedback about the personality. I haven't done it. And I don't know, like, I feel like it's a difficult thing to do. No one's actually came to me and ever posed that question, because I feel like no one ever thinks that personality is the problem. Because if personality is a problem, then that might mean that they just aren't made for streaming. So even though I don't necessarily agree with that, I feel like your personality can maybe mesh with a different game or a different vibe, but then what they're trying to pull off. But no, I never had that conversation, and it makes me nervous to have that conversation. Like I was saying, it's scary conversation to have. Julie says, I personally think it varies how you respond to them depending on if they reach out to you first or not. Well, yes, absolutely. I would never go to someone and tell them something like that. I would never go to someone and tell them something like that. Absolutely not. I wouldn't, because they don't want to know, then I'm not going to tell them. But if someone comes up to me, even if someone comes up to me and asks me the question, I would have a hard time saying that that's the issue. And I would most likely try and want to, you know, look at the other issues that we could work on first, because it's super difficult. And that's part of why I wanted to talk about, is like, you want to help your friend, let's say. Hypothetical, by the way, because like I said, I haven't given this advice or had this conversation. But if you want to help your friend and they're like, hey, I want to do this streaming thing, but I'm you know, it's not working out. How do you go up to them and say, hey, you know, there's something about your personality that I feel like just doesn't vibe. And, you know, instead of saying to them, oh, well, you know, you just got to grind it out, try a different game, try a different time slot, which is a lot easier to say and a lot less chance of them getting super pissed off and potentially ruining your relationship with them. I don't know. It's scary. How do you get the motivation if you don't get the expected result from your stream? Fawad hater, that is extremely difficult thing to say or to do. And like I was saying in my Q&A, motivation is fleeting. I would highly recommend you do not rely on motivation for anything. You should rely on discipline, because if you're disciplined, even though you might have a bad day, you can kind of look at the positive aspects of the day and make positive parts of the day. Because even if you have a small community, you still have a community, and together you guys can work together to make, you know, your streams fun. And if you can make your streams fun, then, you know, maybe you're not growing as much as you want, but you're still having fun. And to me, that's kind of the decision I made, is like, I'd rather build a community where I join in and I have fun every day, and I like hanging out in stream and talking and playing, you know, as opposed to just, you know, playing you know, games that don't really build community, because I feel like that happens with some games. There's no real community because people are quick to abandon streamers. Has LA benefited your professional career so far? I don't know if it's positively affected my streaming, but it's definitely been a positive effect on my life. So I think that is what makes me happy, and I'm happy that I'm here. In terms of streaming, it hasn't necessarily gave me any benefit, really. I'll be honest here. Before I was a manager, I was told I need to talk to people better. I took offense to it at first, but then I was showed how it affects other people. Now they ask to work with me. That's awesome, man. See, it's hard though. It's hard to take the constructive criticism. Like, you need to be able to see yourself and like step outside yourself and like watch yourself as you're communicating and seeing that, like, you know, the words that come out of your mouth aren't necessarily a positive, giving a positive experience to the other person. You have to get the criticism in order to change. Exactly. And it's hard to get the criticism. And that person who gives you criticism has to also say it in a way that allows you to accept it too. It's not just like they said it. They have to say it and word it in a way that you can understand and and like absorb, you know, and not in a negative way. As a person with anxiety who thinks everyone finds them annoying, if I think something's up with someone I see as a friend, I reach out and resolve any possible issue. This community is bae. Mousy Carino, thank you so much. And I appreciate, you know, anxiety is a very common thing in life. And I definitely have anxiety as well. And, you know, it's something you got to work on and something you got to just, you know, deal with and learn to understand your body. And obviously I'm not trying to downplay it in any way. Like, it's just, there is ways to, you know, go about it and deal with it. And I think that streaming actually has made it better for me because I feel comfortable in front of the camera now, and I wasn't before. I feel comfortable playing a game and talking to, you know, hundreds of people when I wasn't before. And even out in public, it makes me more outgoing than I was before. And so all these positive things came from taking a chance. And sometimes you just got to take a chance, and you never know where it'll bring you. And that's the positive thing about life, is like, you know, something is scary, you know, if you make a calculated decision, it could be a positive impact on your life. And, you know, streaming is something that I recommend to people, even if they don't want to become a huge streamer. It still could be a cool experience for you. So I found this community. So before I found this community, I was a negative person. I feel like spending time around people that are so positive and so respectful molded me into a better person. Wow. Play. That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. Part of what I like about what I'm doing is that I'm able to talk positively about things in life, even though sometimes life's shit and bad things happens, and sometimes they happen a bunch of times in a row, and it's like you're having such a fucked up month. But guess what? Like, it gets better. And if you're surrounded by people that are caring, you realize that just because you have a bad month doesn't mean that it's going to be a bad year. And, you know, you got to stay positive, and hanging out with people who are positive really helps with life, I believe. And you got to find those positive people, and you got to like stay near them, and you got to try and be positive too. Don't try and like take the positivity from them. Try and give it back too, because otherwise you're just draining that other person. And so part of what I feel is like, I come onto stream, and part of what I want to do is like push positivity through the camera. Even though I play games like PUBG where I'm super salty, in the end, like, it's once that moment is over, like, I'm back to being fine, you know? And even though my complaints are legitimate, I'm still having fun. Like, I'm still having fun with the complaints. I'm still having fun bitching about it. I always look at like Jerry Seinfeld, like, he's always complaining, but he's not unhappy. He's just complaining. And I feel like that's part of, like, it's just funny complaining, you know? And I enjoy that. I think you're a fantastic content creator, streamer. I have watched and seen stuff you created and helped create over since Epic Meal Times. So thank you, and hope you see more. Thank you so much, Voided Reality. If a person is sucking all the life energy out of you, leave them behind and move on. I don't know how this turned into this. I was trying to talk about positivity and vibe and personality, but it's turning into how to surround yourself with positive people and and be a happy person. How do you stay in a positive mindset? You got to look at the positive. Like, every situation has some, you know, some sort of positive takeaway. And even if overall the whole situation is really terrible, maybe in 5 years, in 1 year, in 6 months, there's a positive takeaway from that experience. Not necessarily like, obviously it could have been a traumatic, terrible thing, but in the end, it could have molded you into who you are today, which can be a positive thing. And you can have a positive impact on the world. Even though you went through something terrible, you can still have a positive impact on the world if you could take that experience and use it for positivity in the end. And I think that that's part of life, is not necessarily looking at all the shitty things that are happening, but look at the positive things and try and work on that. And and be open to new information and be open to new ideas. If you have positive people around you, become positive. If you have negative people around you, become negative. I agree. You got to stay positive. You got to be surrounded by positivity. But the thing is, you got to be positive too. You can't just go in there and then like be negative and think that you're going to be fine. You have to make a conscious effort to look at the positive things in life. You ever get overwhelmed by social media? Sometimes Ken Kid posting constantly, sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but it's fine. It's not that bad. I think the community reflects the streamer who brought people together. So the beardos being this awesome is a reflection of your awesomeness. That our love and kindness comes from you. Thank you so much, Phoebe Raven. That is so kind. What's up, Cat Games? Only way to learn and try new things is to learn from streamers. If you're directly talking to someone from someone without making it your own thing, then that's not cool. Oh, okay. If you're directly taking it something, okay. Yeah, you got to be original. Even if it's like the idea comes from someone, you got to be original. How do you pick the games to stream? The games I would want to play, honestly, and I feel like would go good with the community and the channel. Most likely, I choose, and popular games too, but I do try and play games that are fun and that I feel like the community will be down for. So guys, we have about 15 to 20 minutes left in the stream. We are going to open up the sponsor chat now. I'm going to go in there and I want to have an open conversation with whoever wants to talk inside the sponsor chat in Discord. And you guys can go in there. Make sure you have yourself muted unless you're speaking. And I'll ask some questions and I want to, you know, feel free to jump in and say something. And, you know, it doesn't have to be a long thing, just any kind of input or whatever. Feel free to come say something. That is one of the perks of being a sponsor, is that you could talk. You don't have to though, if you don't want to, but that is the option. And all right, so we're gonna open it up, and and yeah, so we're gonna jump in here. Hello everyone, welcome. So today we were talking about personality and vibe, and I wanted to jump in here to ask you some questions and then see if you guys have some feedback or any ideas, because it's something that's been on my mind a lot, is like how to approach this situation with certain people, even though I've never done it, and I don't necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily bring it to their attention unless they ask me. But like, let's say someone asks you for help with their channel or why their channel's not doing well. How do you broach that subject? How do you talk to them and explain to them that like you don't think their personality just doesn't vibe well or doesn't click well with streaming or the game they're playing? How would you say that? So Chris, like, how I'm gonna ask Chris here because I know he's comfortable to say something, and I'm just curious, like, how would you say it? Because you seem like you're open to taking constructive criticism.
Yeah, so absolutely. I feel like I would maybe work around just saying it flat out to them. So a lot of people are very sensitive, I feel.
Absolutely.
So like, I was a top person in my last job before I left it, and I had to, you know, manage a whole bunch of people. And part of that, I learned how to actually, you know, about people's feelings and how like you have to go about saying things. And sometimes instead of going like, hey, I don't think your personality is going well, I would go, well, you know what I do like? I like how this person's doing this, or how I like that person's doing it. And this person I don't think is doing well because this person's not doing, their personality is not, you know, the greatest thing for, you know, a beat video game. Maybe giving them ideas and placing the idea in their head without actually going about directly telling them. I personally rather just have someone tell me, hey, you're being like a little shit, and you need to like, you need to work on this and this and this. And the bit more I know, and I learned that through construction fields, because no one talks to anyone nicely. Any criticism is like really good feedback, even if it is like really shit. And
Yeah.
I feel like if you take everything with a learning aspect and You know me, I ask 1,000 questions. I ask too many questions sometimes. And but the more knowledge you have, even if it is like negative feedback, I feel like is really good. Because you never know what people think about you unless you hear it. So you might be thinking you're doing a really good job, and then like 20 people like, man, I really wish this guy's personality was better. But no
So,
one's gonna everyone's gonna tiptoe around it, you know what I mean? And
but
you
like
know, it's something you
the
can
thing,
fix quicker.
the thing is like, as nice as that seems like it would work in the way that like you were gently trying to like tell them something about their personality, but as soon as they feel like you're saying something, it could potentially cause them to be insecure. Like if they really trust your opinion and they look at you as a friend, and then like you come up to them and you're like, hey, listen, like there's something about your stream and the way you talk and the way or something that like, yes, it's constructive criticism, but it could actually negatively affect them as well. Like because all of a sudden now they're second guessing how they respond or what they say or how they react or you know how loud they are, and it could completely throw a wrench in like their stream in general. So it's like this super difficult thing because it's very possible that some people you cannot say that to, and it's very and I don't know who those people are. I don't know, like, because they maybe will never hear that from them, but like I know there's situations where like you say something and you don't think that it affects someone in a way that it actually does, and like it happens a lot where someone says something as a passing joke or a passing comment or some sort of constructive criticism. Next thing you know, that person is changing their life or it's affecting their life in a negative way because all they think about is, oh, remember when this person said that? Now I'm kind of shy to like do this.
I guess so, but you also have the other hand where like if someone does tell you that, maybe that person does take stuff really well, and that might be changing their streaming career to a huge benefit. I mean, there's people
It
you
is
can be really
possible.
touchy.
It is possible. Well, I'm just trying to
People
play.
have
I'm playing like devil's advocate here because
absolutely, but I mean,
it.
like, I feel like if you're going into especially streaming or any entertainment business at all, I feel like you should have some sort of backbone.
Yeah.
Because I feel like people who don't have it or don't have any hide, I feel like they're really going to have a lot of issues with dealing with people or
Yeah.
dealing with um you know, even if you make it big and you have sponsors and stuff like that, you think they could be really nice to you all the time. I feel like the more you know, the more you could grow, and I feel like if you're over the course of time of streaming, you get kind of comfortable with yourself, and I feel like the more you stream, it's like practicing something. The more you stream, the more of a vibe you get with something like, hey, this really worked doing this. I'm gonna add this to this.
Right.
Um, as far as like talking, or as far as you know, facial expressions instead of talking, or um, just, I mean, I feel like people just need to be told things sometimes in order to
Absolutely.
benefit. And the
So then,
argument
how
machine
did
is
that
really
person know
powerful.
when they should go and ask for help?
How should they know?
Yeah. Like, so let's say someone's channel is like, you know, not doing great, and it's like, how do you know
hmm.
that it's not YouTube or that it's not just the game or it's not some sort of outside reason?
I feel like you could do. My brother told me this, and this is something I've done starting to stream and do it till this day. Is I watched my last video, the first 10 minutes, the middle 5 minutes, and the last 10 minutes. Just hearing it. I sometimes don't
Mm-hmm.
even watch it. And if you don't want to watch it, if you don't want to watch yourself streaming for that small amount of time, it's telling you that there's something going on. Um, with what you're doing, because if you can't even get your own attention for a short amount of time, then that's probably replicating to other people not wanting to watch your channel. And I feel like that's helped me a lot because I changed a lot of stuff on my end as
Mm-hmm.
far as watching my stuff um, every once in a while. So I feel like you should work on yourself, and then if you ask for help, you should be ready and embrace what that person has to say instead of taking it personal. But that's how just how I am. So.
Does anyone else have anything to add on this topic?
I actually agree with Chris, and I tend to be a very. My name's Corgan. I
Hi.
tend to be a very strong personality, and I'm one of those people who tell people exactly what I'm thinking regardless. I feel that a lot of times you need to be able to kind of stand up, and everyone's getting their feelings hurt about everything these days. And if you can't take constructive criticism, then I'm not entirely sure you should be streaming, because there's going to be other problems down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And but the thing is, like, how do you? It's so difficult to broach like this subject. Like, yes, so you're very forward, right? So you'll say something, and I'm sure that gets you in trouble. I know that gets me in trouble because I'm just blunt sometimes, and I say something that maybe I shouldn't have because I just wanted, you know, it just came to my mind. I said it, and I didn't think that it would have a negative effect on a person. But the thing is, like, like the way people are saying, you got to kind of tiptoe around it. It's true. Like, humans are sensitive creatures, and especially when it comes to their craft, you know, like, so it's like someone's been working on something for 2.5 years, and then someone else comes around and it's like, hey, listen, you should change this because this is how it's, you know, how I see it. And even though you respect that person, sometimes that can be a very difficult thing to hear. And that's what I was trying to say. Like, how do you talk about this? How do you have this conversation? Because I feel like it's so difficult to have. And it's one of the reasons I didn't really want to do this topic yet, because I felt like I don't have an answer. And like, I thought, I was like, how do you do it? And that's why I wanted to bring it up and just get the conversation going. It's so difficult.
It's like any conversation. My grandparents always taught me, be respectful. And as long as you're being respectful, you say, listen, you know, I understand that, you know, you're doing a really good job, but you know, these are something you may want to look at. Or, you know, I've had issues with this, and I see that you're kind of struggling there too. You know, this is how I feel. You know, maybe you can look at and see what you think about it.
Right.
It's about being polite and treating people with respect, and then they'll do the same. And if they feel respected, then, you know, you don't want to just, even if you're being very blunt, you don't just come in and say, hey, you know, douchebag, hey, do this. You don't do that.
Right. Absolutely. There is definitely a way to broach the subject. There is a way, but I think that there's many things that are at play in terms of like that person being accepting of the information you're about to give them, wanting to hear that information, and then the way you tell them has to be in a way that they're not offended. And it's just difficult sometimes to do that because you never know what is going to trigger someone to feel a negative thought, even though you're trying to positively help them. And so, like, moving on from this, like, how important is your personality and vibe to streaming? Like, is it the number one thing? You know, is personality the number one thing in streams that brings people to the thing? Or is it, you know, MLG gameplay? Or is it being a good looking? Or is it like what is the vibe and personality the number one draw to streamers? Like, what do you guys think?
I can tell you it's not being good looking. I think it's as much. I mean, your personality definitely. If you're trying to play genuine and you're not doing a character like Dr. Disrespect, we already talked about that. I mean, I think it's a combination. I don't necessarily even think it's MLG gameplay. Once again, Josh, not an MLG gamer. But personality makes a big difference. I think hyping up or being hyped about whatever it is that you're playing and that the community you're going to be with, even if that's not, I mean, even if that's not the focus of the stream, the focus is on the game itself, of course, in the community. But I think being excited about whatever it is you're about to play, I think that goes a long way to keeping other people involved and into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, being into it doesn't necessarily, and when we say excited, it doesn't necessarily mean you're like yelling or getting overly excited. It just means like they can see it. It's like emanating from you. And even though you're not necessarily super over, you know, excited and yelling, you can just see it in their face, and you can see hear in their voice, and you know, like I was saying, I don't think that everyone needs to be over the top and hilarious. I've seen some streamers who and content creators who are just very knowledgeable, and they seem to do really well because they're calm. They talk about the game. They talk about, you know, strategies, and they're just knowledgeable about all the like the background of the game. And sometimes that's extremely good to listen to because they're feeding you information in a succinct way, which is not easy to do when you're live. So that is another thing that I wanted to bring up, is because I do not think that you just need to be some loud yelling person or, you know, play a character to succeed at streaming. You could easily do it, or not easily, but you could do it with another type of personality as well. Hi, Julie.
Hello?
Hi.
I thought I was muted. I'm sorry. I just wanted to listen.
Oh, I thought you, because I saw your mic muting coming on there. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, just to hopefully I sound okay. I'm on my laptop, but I think we're seeing now more than ever, people really want tips and tricks, and like you said, like they want to learn about the game and things like that. Like especially with Fortnite, like, you know, a lot of the people who are popular in Fortnite, they are so good at the game. So people are always constantly asking, what's a tip? How do I get better at building? Like, how do I do this? So like you said, it's like a lot of combinations of things, but we're just seeing it now more than ever. People really are interested in learning too. So I just thought that was a good point you brought up.
Yeah, no, definitely seen a lot of that lately. And for me, like, well, I watch, you know, a lot of different streamers, but sometimes I enjoy the calm, like super knowledgeable person who isn't necessarily the best at aiming, but knows where everything is in the game, or like knows how to get everything in the game. And like you pop a question in chat and they're like, they have the answer. And for me, people ask, I ask the chat because I don't freaking know. I'm like, hey, how do you do this? Because that's just not how I am when it comes to gaming. I never was. Like those walkthrough guides are literally made for me because I don't know. But the thing is, yeah, there's that's a huge part of what I wanted to talk about, because I think there's so many different types of personalities out there, and it's cool to see that not only one type succeeds. You watched Stat play No Man's Sky knowing that it was nothing more than a glorified farm simulator. He made it great to watch. Well, thank you, Ian. No Man's Sky was an interesting game, and yeah, that's part of it. Is like when I was playing No Man's Sky, I was genuinely excited to learn more about the world, the universe, and everything. And it was really cool to see everyone, like, a lot of people like said they bought the game because I made it look fun, and then they played it, they didn't think it was that fun. But I was like, well, you know, I actually was having fun with the game, and it was exciting to try and learn new things. And then eventually got to the point where I felt like I couldn't have fun anymore, and I stopped playing. Like that's part of what I do, and it negatively affects the stream too when you can't just keep playing the same game, because playing the same game can be super beneficial.
Do you play Fortnite streamer? How many wins?
Game Dojo just tipped $5 saying, do you play Fortnite streamer? How many wins? He's like, it's almost like the Call of Duty thing. Oh my God. Thank you, Dojo. Appreciate that. When are you playing it next, Dojo?
If I could jump in on that.
Yes, hi. Clay.
I'm Clay. So I think it also depends on like how you, like in Battle Royale and like games where you lose, like how you take your losses. Because I see a lot of people, like Julie, for example, when she loses, she's so immediately, she's like, GG, that was a great fight. And then she like analyzes what she did wrong and what she could have done better. And like, I think seeing that in communities helps, like wants me to stay. Like with your gameplay stat, you're like, oh, I died to this. You're not like, oh, I couldn't have done, I did the best I did. Like there's nothing I could have done. Like, blah, blah, like you sit there and you analyze and you talk about it, and people want to hear that. They want to hear like, oh, well, if I was in that situation, I guess I could have done that differently, you know?
Right. It's basically like, it's never my fault when I die in these games. But yeah, no, there's, the thing is like, I don't know, when I'm playing a game, I'm in the zone and I like to play, you know, I love the way that Julie responds when she dies. Cause it's just like, I can't, a lot of the times I can't, like, I'm not like that. I'm very like, I blame the game. I blame the something about like the desynced, or you know, because I always feel like I'm robbed. There are occasions where I do feel like I was outplayed, and I definitely say that, but it's rare that I say that in PUBG, because it always feels like I'm robbed in PUBG. But in Fortnite, definitely feel outplayed a lot of the times, because I guess the game's more optimized. But yeah, no, it's great to see the positive situations that you can take from a death, you know, in the game, because it doesn't always have to be negative. And looking at the positive and trying to learn from it is definitely a part of it. And yes, Julie is super positive, and that's an amazing thing, and that's why her streams are so great. Some of the funnest, most enjoyable streams I've seen are the people who go off book or rogue and just have fun in the middle of the stream. People also want to see the streamer enjoy themselves. John Brown, I like that. I like that Dojo put a little arrow up there, because he does like Dojo's kind of like that. He'll start like making music or just doing like random things on, you know, OBS. And I think that's part, you know, part of it is like having fun, and it's not just like a repetitive thing. It's like there's something different and something fun that you're doing and you're enjoying it. So I love seeing that too, when streamers get out of their comfort zone and just have a good time doing something that is a little different. Cat Games, thank you for sponsoring the beard. You get a beard on the board. Thank you so much, Cat Games. Appreciate that. Appreciate the sponsor. So yeah, I mean, we talked about personality, we talked about vibe. Super complicated thing to talk about it, because I don't know what the right vibe is, what the right combination is, but I feel like I have this like I don't know, it's like a feeling that the game that you play and the vibe that you have has a huge impact on the success that you could potentially get, because there is something to be said about multiple different personalities who have succeeded, and they're all different. And I think that some people go on stream, play video games, and they literally just talk about their daily life. It isn't necessarily they're talking about the stream. Their daily life conversation is entertaining too, and they talk about that. There's a lot of cool different personalities. So I didn't want to come on here and say that there's one type of personality. I was trying to say that there's multiple personalities that can do well for streamers, and I think you just have to find the right game and find the right vibe that you enjoy having every day, because you got to do this every day. And if you're not having a good time and you're not feeling a good vibe, then it's probably not going to be an easy thing to do. So does anyone else have anything to add if they'd like to?
This is Corgan again. I had gotten called away, so one last thing on the talking to people and giving them suggestions. Watch them, learn what they're like, then you'll know how to talk to them and not necessarily hurt their feelings or anything.
Absolutely.
Knowing your friend is just like knowing your enemy. I mean, you deal with them better.
Right. I agree with you. But I still feel like it's so tough, because I personally am scared to like hurt someone's feelings. And so sometimes if you can't find a way to broach the subject, you kind of just don't talk about it. And it's not just that. It's like you got to choose the right time, like the right moment. Like, were they having a rough day already? Like, did they, you know, is today like a good day, or you know, did they just have something bad happen in their life? I don't know. There's so many things that like play in the part in talking about these things, and I hope that we could find a way, because personality is a huge part of streaming, and I hope that you know, I mean I've never gotten feedback. Basically what I'm trying to say, I've never gotten feedback from people, and I've never given that feedback because I feel like it's just such a personal thing. Otto Dilly, thank you so much for the $5 tip. You never lose, you either win or you learn.
We should step back and have a talk.
I mean, yeah, if people want to give feedback, they can. I honestly, I try and just do what I do, and like people, I feel like I read what people say, even though they're not necessarily saying that. I try and you know, I try and do what I feel is right. Honestly, that's the thing with me, is like I feel like I act the way that I feel good acting, and if I'm not feeling good, then there's something wrong. But if I'm feeling good, then I don't think there's much I need to change in terms of the way I talk or the way I act. It's more about maybe the game I play. so that it fits my personality better. D-Train
But
Gaming,
you're
thank you
like
so
me in
much.
The fact that you have a strong personality, so there isn't going to be much to change you anyway.
Right, in that situation though, like if your personality doesn't vibe, like how do you just accept the fact that you shouldn't be streaming? Like is that like, you know, or like do you accept the fact that you shouldn't be in a certain business? Is that just like the reality of life? Or can you evolve and make it work?
Well, I think this. I think that not everyone's made to do things. I mean, going
Tip
to
Train,
be
by
in
the way.
construction field and stuff like that. I mean,
Thank you.
we came across apprentices that just, you know, they weren't cut out to be doing that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you just knew from the beginning that that person was never going to make it. And I feel like that goes for everything. It's for even streaming. I mean, that's what's awesome about streaming though, is like anyone can make it. I mean, that's, you don't have to have an X personality, like one specific personality to be doing something. That's what I really like about streaming in general, is that everyone brings something unique to the table that no one else could replicate. It's just that's how they are. And from any stream you go to, there's always something unique. I mean, you could be a really ugly person, but really funny. You could be a really good player, but like kind of not talkative. You could be really talkative and be like the worst player in the world. Like, but people find things they really enjoy about certain streams, and they'll keep coming back for that thing. And as long as you have a thing and you're not just there, then I feel like you could have somewhat of success on growing your channel on a platform. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah, no, the thing is like, yeah, there's so many different ways to go about it, and it's cool to be surrounded by people who are, you know, helpful and honest with you. And I just wanted to broach this subject because I felt like it was an uncomfortable subject to talk about, and I thought it'd be cool to just see where it goes. And I think that the feedback has been good, and you know, if anyone wants feedback from me, they can reach out and ask me privately. And yeah, it's really cool. I honestly, I love these roundtables because I hear the different points of view, and there are so many. I feel like we could keep talking about streaming like for hours and hours and hours, but we only do like this for like an hour. I try to keep it like a podcast. I'm practicing on trying to keep it at exactly an hour. I'm not really good at it. But so yeah, that's gonna be it for today. We're gonna be doing the video night after this. So if you guys want to hang out in the Discord sponsor chat, we're gonna go into the lounge and we're gonna watch some videos together. But I'm gonna mute myself now. I just want to say thanks to Chris's Face, Clay, Josh, Corrigan, and Julie, One Shot Girl, for talking and giving their feedback. And I appreciate you guys jumping into the Discord and using your voice. It's really cool. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
No problem.
Yeah, bro. Thanks.
For sure, dude. All right, so I'm gonna be muting myself, and I'm gonna be ending the stream. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. So that is it for today's roundtable. Appreciate you guys hanging out for this one. It's been a really awesome day. I think that so first we did the Q&A. That was great. We moved on to the streamer roundtable. Now we're gonna do the video watching. So basically the link is here. Let me just give you the link in this chat so you guys can go check it out. Here, hold on. Let me give you the link here. I have the link. And wait, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it. I promise. Let me look for it. I feel like it's there. Here. Found it. Alright guys, here's the link. This is where we're gonna be watching the videos after this, okay? Go to this link right here. Click it. I'll be there pretty soon with some new videos to watch. We can watch them together, and you guys can jump in the Discord chat and we just hang out. We're gonna watch a few videos. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for this episode 4, and we'll be doing this every month. And again, sponsors are able to jump in the sponsor chat. So if you're not a sponsor, think about sponsoring now. And we'll see you in the next video. Later.